Ladies and gentlemen, this is kind of part one of the mini that I plan on recording on my own solo dolo today, but it is for the movie that I have been anticipating the most, Heretic. So this is going to be my second viewing of it. My first viewing I went to see with Christian and my little sister, and I think the movie itself, the main point of it isn't to really talk about the movie when you leave. I think it's about incorporating the themes that it goes to try to show us and see how it affects us personally and how it affects our life and our views and our morals and our understanding of the way we perceive things in life. It is a religious movie in the way where it will question the fundamental beliefs of the two main characters. They are Mormon, and it's a different kind of film in the way where they acknowledge the things that society has kind of painted for that belief. So they talk about the Book of Mormon that South Park released. I don't know if you have any experience with that or watching that when that came out. I think it was like a play or some sort from the creators of South Park. And so hearing that in the movie in the first few minutes of it was hilarious, because why are you acknowledging that? So I'm going for my second viewing just because I want to kind of tidy up my thoughts about the movie. I think it was a great film in the way where the story and the characters, sure, that was all great and that was dandy, but I really just wanted to kind of go back and hone in on what the point of the movie was. What was the message that it was trying to give me? And I had this discussion, this philosophical discussion with my little sister on the way home, where we were like, I think because she is from a younger generation, I think you are more open to understanding all points of view, and as opposed to, let's say, people from my mother's generation, not so open to understanding all sides and all things. So I think that's a crucial part of what the movie is trying to convey. So I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna go watch the movie again, and I'm gonna enjoy myself, because I enjoyed myself the first time. It's marketed as like a horror movie, but I don't think it was a horror movie. I think it was just something that is gonna get you thinking. I was explaining to my little sister, this movie had me actively engaged, not verbally, because we were in the theater, we can't be asking questions or can't be talking to ourselves during the film. I mean, I tend to do that, Fabian tends to do that a lot too, but in my head I was asking so many questions, why are you doing this? Why are you making this decision? Why are you making that decision? And this is a movie that I haven't participated in that way in a long time. So excited. I was anticipating this movie ever since I saw Sophie Thatcher in it. So shout out to her, Sophie Thatcher. She deserves all the flowers. She is up and coming. As soon as I recognized her from Yellow Jackets, I knew it then. That cast of young ladies are going to be a staple in this industry for years and years to come, and it's kind of proving it now. So I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna watch it again, tidy up my thoughts, and I will see you on the actual camera when I get back. Peace. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Idle Talk Minis, and we are back from the movies. And I'm doing this mini just specifically, I'm trying to see if I'm in frame still, because I'm going to show you real quick what I'm dealing with. This is what I'm dealing with currently. I forgot my tripod in the car, so we're just going to have to do what we do and do it the best way we can. Heretic. I'm a little sick, but we're gonna get this done and out of the way. At the end, I will put in some spoilers. Towards the end, you will get a little bit of an ad to give you some time to get out and move about your day. Then I'll spoil the fuck out of it for 15-ish minutes, and then that's it. We'll be done. But Heretic, I've been looking forward to this film since I've seen the trailer. And I will tell you, the trailer is misleading. It makes you think it's gonna do and go in a whole other direction. There's a maze in the trailer, and I'll tell you this right now, it's not that big of a deal in the actual movie. But there are things that I want to touch upon. Certain questions that I left the theater, or that I asked myself while watching the film. And the first one is a quote that the main guy says. He's like, "The more you know, the less you know." And I'm gonna let you ponder that for a second on how you perceive that and how that makes you feel and what you think. But I truly believe it kind of signifies, for example, our brain. We don't necessarily use all of our brain. Why is that? There's plenty of scientific backings that will explain to you why we don't use the entirety of our brains. But for me, it's like we wouldn't be able to handle everything that we could possibly take. So I think there's a little bit of a blessing in that. Where like, all right, I'm not using all of my brain power, but if I did, I'd be so in tune with the world that I wouldn't know what to do with that information. So I truly believe that the question that he when he phrases it, he says it, the more you know, the less you know, and it comes from a research, led background where he was studying all these kinds of religion and like what is the one true religion, and he compares it to fast food, he compares it to Monopoly, believe it or not, how Monopoly is a rip off, copy and pasted, rebranded version of some game called Landlord or something like that, and how Judaism is the OG religion. It's been around the longest, quote, because then he goes and breaks that down even more. There's a lot of religion talk in this movie and how just beliefs in general, like believing in things that you can't prove or believing in things that you can't see, and like why do you believe? Why do you choose to believe this versus why you choose to believe that? Why do you believe anything at all? And so he goes and he tries to fundamentally break down the belief system held by these Mormon girls. So the main characters that we're following around are Sister Barnes, who is Sophie Thatcher's character, and Sister Paxton. I don't know the actress's name. I only know Sophie Thatcher's name. It's just because she's so good at what she does, and she's amazing in this movie. It's just from the facial expressions to the conversations, like you truly believe, especially my second time watching this film, that she is a converted Mormon. She didn't grow up in that belief system. Some things happened to her in her life that ultimately lead her on this path, and she makes it a point to tell us that in the movie as well. She's like, oh, the one Sister Passon tries to explain that they're both from Utah, right, a hub of Mormonism, and she's like, no, I'm originally from Philadelphia. Doesn't say Pennsylvania. It'd be a lot different if she'd be like, oh, I'm from Pennsylvania. It's like I'm saying, oh, I'm from New York versus I'm from fucking Buffalo, right? There's a clear, distinct difference. She's like, no, I'm from Philly. Originally, I'm from Philly, and I converted my life after XYZ. Trying to keep it as spoiler-free as possible. I think that's a huge distinction of the two characters. One Utah girl has 8 siblings. That's a lot. That's some Mormon stuff, right? And the other girl doesn't really explain if she has siblings or not. But you would think the two different vastly people, and even physically, they're very different. One of them is blonde. One of them has darker and like darker brunette color. And the Alamo Draft House, which is where I went, and I took notes on their order cards. But they showed us at the beginning. I actually got there about like 30 minutes early, just so I could see the previews and see if there's anything that I was missing out of the opening night showing, because we got there just on time. And there was a like instructional video of the Mormon church on how to be a missionary and how to approach people and how important your looks are. Like people make a assumption, a decision about you within 3 seconds of meeting you. Then with that, they decide whether they want to have a conversation with you or not. And there is the key. Show up presentable, right? Show up approachable, and then speak your truth, speak the mission, speak everything that you need to be talking about, and then that's how you get, that's how you convert people over to Mormonism. Is that the right word? I don't know. I'm not an expert in that particular engagement field or whatever, but I thought that was very interesting, especially because I already knew how the movie was gonna go, right? This is my second time, so I thought that was a nice little subtle hint on what was going to happen in this movie. So I've only explained that because Sophie Thatcher's character, Sister Barnes, she looks edgy. She looks aggressive. She looks defiant, rebellious. Those are terms and adjectives that I could use to describe her. Meanwhile, Sister Paxton is your typical church girl, bubbly, happily, devoted, and ambitious, and has that blonde hair, white girl esque vibe to her. And there's a point in the movie where these assumptions that you already make off the bat, when you approach this film, there's a part in the movie which you see in the trailer, so it's not really a spoiler. So go watch the trailer at least, and you get this aspect of it. There's a moment in time where the main villain guy, I forgot what his actual actor name is. I forgot who he is, but he's a really big deal apparently. But he tells them there's two doors: belief and disbelief. And this is the only really big part of the movie I'm going to really get into. And it's the fact that Sister Patterson is, the blonde haired, bubbly church girl, easy, 100% willing to give up her beliefs in order to appease this guy, in order to achieve a goal that they're trying to achieve. Meanwhile, Sister Barnes, the defiant looking one, the rebellious looking one, the darker haired, emo, edgy looking one, is quick, and I say quick, to stand on her belief. She's like, no, I'm not gonna change what I believe in. I'm not gonna change what I've devoted my life into learning, into feeling, into knowing, just because you're trying to break that down out of me, just because you're trying to break it out of me. I'm not gonna do that for you. I'm not gonna appease you and do that. So that's as deep as I'll spoil the movie. There's going to be a section at the end where I will continue to go on and ramble about that. I thought that was super impactful. I thought that was super important to have us immediately judge these characters, and then, for me at least, that's just based off my judgments. I've made that judgment of being like, oh, that's your typical church girl, and that's your typical, not so typical church girl. And for it to be reversed, you would think the bubbly blonde church girl would be so quick to firmly believe in her belief systems and to back them and to support it, but it wasn't. And that was the biggest twist for me, and that happened very early on in the film. It was just so impactful to me that even my second time watching the movie, I went into the movie again to just be like, I can't believe that happened. What were the signs that was going to happen? How did we lead here? How did we get here? Like, what is something that triggered that response? And I was speaking to my sister about this like after the movie, and I think this is a crucial part of the film, is not discussing the contents of the film, but moreover discussing how it made you feel, and how the thoughts that came into your head, how does that directly impact you, and how does that directly make you question things. Like, for example, I walked out of there, and I immediately thought there's one undeniable truth about humans as a species, and you cannot deny the human spirit. The human spirit is, I don't want to include it with religious belief. I think that the human spirit is a universal thing that people feel, regardless of their upbringing, regardless of their environment, regardless of what they choose to believe or not. I think the human spirit is what makes us the top of the food chain. We're the quote apex predators of the world we live in. We choose things like war, we choose things like violence, we choose those things, but we also have the power to overcome those things, whether we believe ourselves strong enough or not. I think it's something so beautiful that the human spirit, the undying human spirit, is something anyone can achieve. And I think regardless of it being pulled out of you, right, you're in a super extreme scenario that you need to pull that out just to survive, or whether you just live with it constantly. I think that's an undeniable thing, the human spirit. And I think that's what I took away from this film, is that, and we can see that in the movie as well. Just like, sure, there's religion talks, there's this, there's that, there's breaking down this belief system, breaking down that belief system, breaking down, picking and choosing and picking apart all these different religions over, like he said, over 10,000 recorded religions. But I think at the end of the day, they all have this common foundation, which is the human spirit, the undying human spirit. So, as you saw on my car ride over, my main goal of the second showing was to see, what is this movie trying to tell me? What is this movie's theme and messaging? And I thought I knew it before I went in, but I clearly didn't know shit. The movie is quite frankly about one thing, one word. I could just break it down to you, and it's control. The main antagonist tries to say that religion is a systematical structure of control. They control you from when you're very young and susceptible, telling you why you should believe in this versus why you should believe in that, how you should believe it, how you choose to worship this, how you choose to worship that. And I think at the end of the day, this movie was about control. It was about what can you control, what things can you control, what things can control you, what you can't control, and what are things that you choose to believe or not believe in. So this guy takes it to the extreme in this film on how to take control over someone. And we see in these, in the ending of the movie where he goes and he tells the one of the characters, he's like, because you let me do this. You not them in specifically, but just in general. He does the things he does because he is allowed to do those things. In conclusion, without going too deep and spoiling the remainder of the movie, I've jumped around in and out of it. But I think the most important and crucial part of this was that this movie did not disappoint me. I went in there with high expectations. It's kind of marketed as a horror film, but the only thing that really got me was one jump scare, and I wasn't ready for it. But my second time, I looked at it and I was like, oh wow, I really overreacted to that. But people can kind of nitpick and choose on like how we get to the ending and what we do at the ending, but I truly believe that this film was not meant to be held in high regards, whether it's a 5-star movie, whether it's an action-packed, star-studded cast, and the messaging is clear and concise. I think the purpose of this movie was for you to walk out of this movie with your own interpretation on how it ends and with your own questions that you want to be asked. And I hope that was the intention of this movie, because I think it executes that really well. Walk out of this movie and you think to yourselves, X, Y, Z, what is this? What is that? Why do I do this? Why do I do that? Why am I the way I am? It's because you choose to do the things you do. And I think that's just it's a crazy part, because it's simple. You believe what you believe in because you decided to do so, whether it be because you made a decision 18 years ago, whether it be because you made that decision yesterday, whether it be because you made that decision 5 years ago. You chose at one point or another to take that and make it a part of what you believe in. It tries to tell you that the choice that you make isn't necessarily your choice. It tries to downplay it. It's like, oh no, you made that choice 18 years ago because you were stupid and young and susceptible and you don't know any better. Meanwhile, you've made that choice and you have 18 years of experience that goes along with it. So, I think it's trying to show you multiple sides of the same coin versus trying to show you different coins instead. Like, you like, hey, here's a peso versus here's a quarter, a US quarter. Here's a Canadian coin. Here's another blah, 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 XYZ coin. So watch it, ask questions. I hope you watch it with people you trust. Not to say that you don't want to have these conversations with like people you don't even know, but I enjoyed the conversations afterwards that I had, especially with Christian in the car a little bit. He was showing me his new car, so I thought it was cool. But we were just talking about the like what were we supposed to take out of this movie after watching it. I don't think it was a movie that I could tell you how long it was. I could look at the runtime, sure, and I could give you that answer, but time flew by. I was engaged the entire time. Even the second viewing of it, I was locked in and engaged to the point where this lady, during one of the most intense scenes, I was just like leaning like on my hand like this with my hoodie up. I'm locked the fuck in. I'm watching. And then this lady, I think she goes to the wrong row and she sits in the wrong place and she goes, "Are you sleeping?" And I turn and I look at her and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong place." I'm like, "Oh, bitch, you scared me." That was the scariest part of the movie this time. I'm like, why the fuck is somebody whispering in my ears? Like, what the fuck? I was so locked in and engaged that I did not notice that somebody had sat next to me for God knows how long and then asked me if I was sleeping. I was not. I was fucking locked the fuck in. I don't want to spoil the part of the movie, but but eventually I'll bring it up and to be like, oh, it was during this part that made that part that feel even heavier. And then the conversation I had with my little sister at the end of it last night, and we were just talking about our different experiences, and at the end, I brought the scene about how quick Sister Paxton was to try to give up her belief and try to appease the main antagonist, and she was like, I don't blame her for doing that. I don't kid her. I would want to live too. And more closely related to Sister Barnes, where I was like, hey, she stood on business. I want to stand on business too. I think at the end of the day, my beliefs, I hold them to me because I've lived my life through them, and I live my life learning from them, whether it be positive experience or negative experiences. I live my life doing that, and I want to hold my beliefs close to me. I think that's what makes me a human being. That's what makes me who I am. That's what makes me Fernando. That's what makes me me. And I closely more related to Sister Barnes in that way, because she asked her, she's like, do you still believe in God? And she was like, yes. I'm like, so come stand on business with me. Come show this guy that no matter how much he tried to pick us apart, no matter how much he tried to shut down our fundamental beliefs, it's not going to work, because we believe. And I think there's a hidden message in there where you, as a human, whether you know it or not, you choose to believe in something, whether it be proven to you time and time again that that's not how it works. There's always this hope. Belief, I think, is synonymous with hope. There's something beautiful about hope. And even though the odds are stacked against you, and I brought up this story with my sister as we were discussing it last night. I'm like, hey, I used to play football. We would go out and lose every single game, right? I played college football. We would go out and lose every single game. But there was this guy on our college football team. Before we ran out on the field, he gave us hope. Do you know why? Because that guy sat and he was like, guys, hey, let's pray before we run out there and play the game. And me at that time, I definitely wasn't super, super duper religious at that moment. But it's just something about that experience. Like, you're there with your brothers, you're there with your team, you have a mutual goal, and that brief minute or 2 minutes that guy decided to pray for us every single game always gave me goosebumps and always made me a little bit more ready to go, even if we had to drive like 18 hours straight on a bus to Wisconsin to play a fucking game. I went to school in Western New York, so upstate basically, and imagine driving a bus to go to Wisconsin to play a game. We ultimately lost that game by a lot of points, right? But that quick 2-minute prayer that guy did for us kind of, made me a little bit more hype to go out and try to do something, try to win. Even though I wasn't a starter at the time, I played a lot of minutes in that game because of injuries and people like faking their injuries. That's a story for another day. But I got my chance to go out there and try to kind of like use that energy that guy had given me in the beginning, and him, just because he's a religious person and he just wants to pray for us to have a successful outing, praying for the people playing, praying for the people who came out and visited to watch us play here, all that kind of belief and that kind of hope and that kind of just like everything can show you that is not the correct thing to believe in, or that's not real. I think just, again, similar to the undying human spirit, hope is just synonymous with that too, where like everything can show you that will not happen. Whatever you want to pray for, whatever you want to do this, XYZ for, whatever you want to believe in, hey, that could turn out to not be true at all. But there's just something about the odds. And I think you could kind of relate that to gambling. There's always a small chance you're going to make it big. You're going to break that jackpot. You're going to hit that 19-leg parlay. You put in $20 and you get in $2.5 million out of it. There's a small chance in that. And I think that's something beautiful that we experience as humans. Those are extreme examples, of course. But I think that's just something super beautiful to believe in. But now we're just going to transition. I'm going to play the ad. We're going to transition into the spoiler-filled ramble that I had, that I can get even more specific with you. We're going to jump back into the car to do that. I've recorded this in a mix on my way to the movie, gave you a quick intro. Now I'm back from home. I'm back home from the movie, talking about all the key points that I took away from this film. And now I'm gonna spoil the fuck out of this movie. So this is absolutely your last chance to jump out of here. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you'll get a short series of ads, and then that's your chance to jump out. And then we will see you, hopefully, with Fabian sometime soon. Begin with Sister Barnes is dead, for real. She got murked, and the main villain guy, whatever his name is, I totally forgot his fucking name, but he's dead. And now the big speculation, the biggest question of them all, is Sister Paxton alive? Because she, from what we see at the very end of the film, she escapes. She does mention at the very beginning of the film, if she were to ever be resurrected, not reincarnated, she would love to be a butterfly, because she would love to follow the people that she loves around and to show them that she's there with them. She mentions that she would love to land on their hands, right? Just to show her loved ones that she's there with them at that present moment in time. At the end of the film, we see this butterfly land on her hand. To me, symbolic, because we see that same butterfly at the beginning of the film. Something that I didn't catch my first time watching it, but I definitely noticed it on the second watch, is that we saw a butterfly in the building, in the living room of where that man lived. Now here's just my main ending conclusion. There could be two things. She could have died in the ending of the movie, Sister Paxton. She's dead. The butterfly symbolizes that she's, going into, heaven or whatever it's said to be, eternal life, or just the afterlife in general. There's a scripture or something brought up earlier where near-death experiences, people describe things to be like clouds, but they aren't clouds, and it's a bright light. So she escapes from the house, and there's snow on the outside, which could be interpreted as that cloud-like material, and the shine could just be the general time of day that the sun is now risen. The sun has risen at that point in time in the movie. But I believe that the ending of the movie symbolizes the death of Sister Paxton's beliefs. She's quick to kind of maybe disregard them in the beginning of the movie, where he has them choose between a belief door and a disbelief door. Do you choose to believe what you believe, or have I convinced you enough to kind of abandon that belief? And I think there's something brought up earlier in the film as well, where Sister Barnes, which is Sophia Thatcher's character, she mentions an E. coli outbreak and how she nearly dies. And that's, I think, a catalyst of what makes her kind of choose to be on the path that she's on. That probably puts her on the path to belief and religion and doing. But the nail that drives it home, the straw that breaks the camel's back, is that her father dies of Lou Gehrig's disease. Her father dies of Lou Gehrig's disease, and it's always something like that pushes people over the edge, whether it be the positive edge or the negative edge of extreme of being super religious. Now I need to believe in faith, I need to start going to church, I need to start doing this, I need to start doing that. Or on the other end of that spectrum, on that sphere of over the edgeness, drinking, drugs, alcohol, terrible decisions, things that could bodily harm, self-harm, violence, fighting, things like that. That's the other side, the other extreme end of it. And I think just Sister Barnes took that experience and went over the positive of just I need to be religious, we need to go to church, we need to start exploring things, this, that, and the other. For Sister Paxton character, I think this whole experience, the whatever runtime of the movie, is that kind of drastic event in her life that now pushes her away from religion, pushes her away from her belief in God has a plan, or everything happens for a reason. Sister Paxton is alive. She has suffered a great loss in her life, with Sister Barnes dying to protect her. And at the end of it all, everything she believed in spiritually was challenged and brought down and dismantled right in front of her. And I think that was enough to just have her be done with it altogether. And whatever ends up happening with her life is a direct consequence of the events that happen in this film. And it leaves it open-ended, because I truly believe that the ending is meant for you to finish in your head. You walk out of that movie and you're like, oh wow, I can't believe she lived. Or you walk out of that movie trying to think a little bit deeper and be like, oh no, she's dead. She's hallucinating that butterfly in her hand, just making her way into the afterlife. It's over for her, it's over for the guy, it's over for Sister Barnes, or anything in between those two possibilities. So I took the ending as, especially watching it the second time, I took the ending as, hey, her belief system was destroyed in front of her. She no longer believes. She's over it. She's just lucky to have her life. She's grateful for her life, and now whatever happens with her life is a direct consequence of what we just witnessed in the film. So, spoilers, ending. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Idle Talk Minis. I enjoyed this film. I recommend you go watch it. This is probably repetitive if you continue to watch the spoiler section of it, but go out, watch it, discuss with your friends. I think if you like movies like this that make you think, that make you question everything, every little possibility, and if you go in there with the attitude of like, I'm gonna go and I'm just gonna consume this film and see what it makes me feel, see how I feel in my own personal life, like am I questioning my beliefs? Because this is something I talked to about with my little sister. She is probably more closer related in mentality to Sister Paxton, where she wants to live, so she wants to, appease the main villain in this movie, where he's like, what's the right answer? Like, what's the right religion? What's the right this, right that? So she was Sister Paxton was more quick to kind of throw aside her main beliefs, whereas Sister Barnes, she was standing on business. She was like, no, I firmly believe that. She asked her, she's like, do you still believe in God? She was like, yes, I do. And then she said, all right, if you believe in God still, walk with me towards the belief door, and we're just gonna let God decide what's gonna happen to us. We're gonna let God dictate our fate. And she believed so wholeheartedly that because her belief is so strong, that nothing was gonna happen. Now I want to say nothing, but she believes that at the end of it all, it's just gonna be something that they get through. And I more closely relate to Sister Barnes in that way. Not that I'm super spiritual, super religious, but I believe that if you have a set of morals and principles and you firmly believe in something, then you should stand by it at all times. And to make it like exaggerated and extreme, if you're a racist, stand on that. Be a fucking racist. Be the best racist you could be. But just know there's going to be consequences to those actions, and there were consequences to the end of the film too. But I'm just saying, if you have a set of beliefs, then you should stand on them. And I believe that. I wholeheartedly believe that by the end of my life, maybe like 8 out of 10 odds that the ending of my life would stem from me personally standing on something I firmly believe on. Whether that be true or not, whether I have a peaceful death or not, whether I have a long-ass life or not, I firmly believe that you should stand on your beliefs, and you should stand on business on what you truly believe, that makes you you, that makes you what fundamentally makes you you. I think you should stand on that. You should always back your principles. You should always back your beliefs. And all right, so I'm editing this week's episode, and the following story, first, trigger warning for like school shootings, and second, it's a story being told by the teacher at my sister's school. So it didn't occur at my sister's school. As I'm editing the podcast, I realized that it could sound as if she experienced these events firsthand, but she did not. And I just wanted to clarify that. I don't want to be confusing or making it sound way crazier than it was, but this is just a story that happened, a school shooting that happened at I think it was like a college or something. Don't really know the details of it, just the secondhand experience of how the teacher explained it to my sister at that young of an age. There was a story that, as I was having this conversation with my younger sister last night after we watched it the first time, I was talking to her, and she's explained to me this fundamental moment in her life, because she went to a private Christian school. I went to public school my whole life, so she had the luxury, because she was born later, to go to private school. But she went to a private Christian school, and there was a school shooting that happened when she was kind of younger, and the guy, the shooter, asks the people in the class, he's like, hey, who believes in God? One person stood up and said, oh, I believe in God. The guy kills him straight up, after, doesn't even have a dialogue, doesn't even have anything. He just kills him for the fact of believing in God. And then there's a moment where he asks the question again, who believes in God? And a second person stands up and says, I believe in God, and he kills that second person. The moral of that story is, and he kills a few more people after that. The teacher tells my sister that, do you know who the strongest person in that room was? And she's young. She probably might have been like 5th grade I hope, for having this kind of scenario brought up in fucking school. But the teacher goes to explain that the bravest person in that room is the second person to stand up and declare their faith in God. And so to end the episode, just what I took away from it is believe in your beliefs. Whether people are destroying them, bringing them down, breaking it down, trying to change your mind, trying to think to show you better, trying to show you otherwise. I think you control what you believe, and that's a big message of this movie, is control, right? I truly believe that you control what you believe and don't believe. And if let's say 10 years from now your beliefs change, you decided that, you learned something new, you comprehended those said new things that changed who you were, and and changed how you grew as a person. So to end the episode, watch that movie. I highly recommend it. If you can, experience it with somebody else, somebody that probably is close to you. That way, whatever conversation that stems from it, you'll be good. Like, I wouldn't take a person on a first date with this and then have to be like, oh, so what do you think? And then it'd be awkward because there's no history, there's no things to kind of sit on, and no life experience together. Go out with a friend, with a family member, with your brother, sister, cousin, whatever. Go out, watch this film, and experience whatever conversation that's going to stem from it afterwards, because the conversation that I had with my friend Christian and with my sister did not involve the movie. It definitely just involved how it made us feel and how we viewed life and how we approach life. And I think that's something super important. And the fact that that kind of conversation can stem from a movie, I think is awesome. It's amazing. And that's why I love movies. That's why I love going to the movie theater. So watch it in theaters if you can, or just find whatever streaming platform it's going to be on. No idea which one it's going to be on yet. It's a brand new movie. I'm giving you a few days, so I'll drop this on the regularly programmed Thursday that's going to come out on. But yeah, go out, experience this for yourself, and let us know how you felt. DM us at Idle Talk Pod on Instagram, and just let us know. Let me know. I'm excited. I want Fabian to watch it, so eventually I might have to watch it for a 4th time, because I predict I will watch it one more time just so I could fully grasp anything I may have possibly missed. Because let me show you quickly my notes that I took for this film. I took the Alamo Drafthouse order cards and I wrote on them the whole movie. So I've got notes, plenty of notes to go through, which I will kind of cover in the middle portion, I guess, of this episode. So everything is a little backwards, but to the magic of editing, everything will make sense. So hopefully the next episode you see me in, Fabian's with me, and maybe we're in the car, maybe we're in the regularly scheduled programming setting that we usually are. But that was this episode, this portion. So we'll see you on the next one. Bye.